Are you a woman standing at a crossroads, eager for change? It's time to connect with your authentic and empowered self at Boss Leap. Join Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker in this empowering community where real-life stories of courageous and talented women inspire and motivate. Engage in honest conversations that foster well-being, drawing from our own journeys. Let us guide you toward profound growth and transformation in both your personal and professional life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker.
Welcome back to Boss Leap Podcast, where we amplify bold stories, brave women, and the powerful decisions that change everything. I'm Dr. Angela Walker with my lovely co-host,
Dr. Sylvia Morris. And today we are sitting with a returning guest, a friend of the show who is not only brilliant, but transformational. The kind of voice that doesn't just inform you, it interrupts you in the best way.
Yes. And if you've heard her before on this podcast, then you already know. Dr. Rhonda Mattox doesn't just talk about mental health, she reframes how we understand ourselves.
Dr. Mattox is a board-certified psychiatrist and neurologist with over 2 decades of experience, a thought leader at the intersection of mental health, media, policy, and faith, and someone who is advised everywhere from Capitol Hill to Hollywood.
Her work challenges the idea that silence is strength, and instead asks a powerful question. What are we losing when people don't feel safe to use their own voice?
And recently, our own Dr. Mattox took the message to the TEDx stage.
So, Boss Leap family, this is one of those conversations where you may want to pause, reflect, and come back again, because there's going to be something here for you. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Rhonda Mattox.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
We are excited that you are here with us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to just jump right into it, Dr. Rhonda. Rhonda, we have to start here. Not with the message itself, because we've had the gift of learning from you before, but what about the moment? What did it feel like to stand on the stage, deliver the message that is so deeply personal and so broadly needed?
It felt like I belonged there. I felt confident when I went out. There were so many people who were there that I knew. Half the audience was there for Rhonda Mattox. So I didn't feel as nervous as I might have if it had been complete strangers. But I felt like I had been practicing my whole life for that moment on the stage. The message that I talked about is a message I've been talking about for decades, but I was showing vulnerability. Many times when you're talking to a psychiatrist or a minister, the world, they expect you to be perfect. They expect you to live the whole thing that you're talking about and live it perfectly. And so on that stage, I was vulnerable about my people-pleasing ways at times and talked about how I've struggled and the evolution that happened that helps me to deliver the message that I can so credibly deliver to them. And it's not because it's theoretical. It is because it is life lived.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Rhonda, tell us, was there anything about your TEDx experience that surprised you, even just something small?
Yeah. I think I thought I was doing the TEDx so that I could deliver a message. But what happened is, as I was preparing, it was like I was revisiting childhood Rhonda, young woman Rhonda, middle-aged Rhonda, mother Rhonda, and assimilating all of the messages that I had received to deliver that talk. And so I was rediscovering Rhondas that I had long forgotten about, right? I was rediscovering that. But the other piece was there is a cohort that you come into this with. And getting to know the cohort of other speakers was absolutely an unintended perk that I really appreciate. I shared the stage with some absolutely brilliant folks who had great messages. And to be able to develop relationships and have respect for their message was something that I hadn't thought about, but it's definitely a perk. When you do TEDx, you evolve, but you also get some amazing individuals that I imagine some of them I want to do life with, you know?
Uh, that's
We
awesome.
can't wait to see that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we
Absolutely.
know that you have spent your career helping people reclaim their voice. And certainly, as you talked about the different Rhondas during your TEDx talk, can you just kind of share with how your relationship with your own voice has changed over time?
Yes. So I grew up in the South, and in the South, children are to be seen and not heard, at least during my generation, to be seen and not heard. If your parents wanted your opinion, they gave it to you. You know, they and they were not soliciting it. So
Mhm.
I grew up during a time when I wasn't encouraged to use my voice. And then all of a sudden at 18, I am supposed to all of a sudden know
Mhm.
how to use my voice. Well, actually 16. I graduated early, so I went to college at 16. So now I have people who are asking me what I want. And I remember dating someone and, it's like, where do you want to eat? Where do you want to eat? So I didn't have a voice yet. And we dated for probably about 4 or 5 years. And so somewhere along the way, I started to develop a voice. And he was used to the girl who had no voice. And now I'm becoming a woman and I have thoughts and opinions. And I remember this relationship that had been easy peasy, easy like Sunday morning, evolving. And it no
Because you
longer,
were saying yes all the time.
right. People love yes people. Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yes.
But when you start to say, this feels uncomfortable for me,
Mhm.
I'm not comfortable with that. I believe that's not good for me. And so the relationship shifted and ultimately he was a great guy, but it meant that I needed to part ways because my vision for my life was not in alignment and I
Mm.
couldn't be with him and become the woman that I am now. And I remember it being really hard because we didn't part ways because of infidelity or him being mean. It was just I was catching glimpses of what I was destined to do and I knew that I couldn't
Mm.
be that with him. And so the beautiful thing about my husband is he had his shine and my shine didn't threaten his shine. And so
Yeah.
he has, and I don't want to say permitted, but I will say he has supported me from the sidelines. He's
Mm.
grabbed my hands and said, "You're not aiming high enough," when I was
Mm.
afraid to do certain things. And so I was like, "Well, no, well, why don't you?" And he would say, "We'll try." And so he has been my will try guy. And not only just will try when it's convenient for him, but will try even when it means he has to move across country to LA so that I can do a fellowship or move to DC with me because I'm doing policy advising. And so the difference in what he was willing to do to support me through my dreams was everything. And when
Mm.
you marry someone who is not afraid of your shine and who can
Mm.
support your shine and who can pour gasoline on that shine and make it
Yes.
or whatever,
Yeah.
that is everything.
Mm.
So,
That
Dr.
is
Rhonda, can we stay here for a moment? Because I am thinking about when you met your husband, how is it that you knew that this person, this man was the right person for you, meaning that he was going to help to amplify your shine and hold your hand and help move you forward? Because that's not always easy to see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't know immediately, but what had happened was my real mother had died, and the person that I was dating at the time didn't come to the funeral and didn't send
Oh.
flowers.
What?
Oh.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. And
Uh-huh.
so even though I was in my 20s, I'd experienced great loss.
Mm.
And I knew that I didn't want a Mr. Feel Good guy. I wanted somebody who could go through the challenging times with me.
Yeah.
So most people in their 20s are not thinking like that, but I was thinking like that. And so when I, I met my husband, I'm going to be in trouble, so I'm not going to show him this. So don't you guys show my husband this video. So, um, so this lady wanted to introduce me to what would become my husband, and I didn't want her support. I was like, I'll find my own troubles. And she wouldn't take no for an answer. So she calls me and we talk for a minute. And then she calls him and we talk and then she puts us on the line. So she won't take no for an
Oh,
answer.
like a three-way call.
A three-way call. So she's
Wow.
like, you need to meet, because I didn't want to be introduced to anybody. And I always said, I'll find my own troubles. I don't need any help. So I didn't want any introductions. So when we first got on the phone, I was just like, okay, do. Then she excuses herself from the phone call. So I think we're going to be friends. But I'm going to back up just a little bit. The reason she said this was because I had told her that I had broken up with this guy. And I said, if I should have a moment of weakness, do not take me back because I'm going to come to my senses and I'm going to ditch you again. So let's part ways and never look back.
And this is a guy that didn't show up for
Come
you
to
at
the
your
funeral.
mother's funeral. Let's just be clear.
So,
Okay, all right. I ain't forgot. I'm still mad at him. Okay.
So do not look back. Like, I'm done, right? So then she was like, I got somebody for you. Well, she wanted to introduce him. So neither of us wanted her to introduce us to anybody. Okay.
Yes.
Lovely lady, but not necessarily trusting her judgment. So I just thinking he's going to be my friend. I was good with being single. I was having fun. I was finally good with being single. I was about to graduate from medical school and I had these plans like I'm about to kick it, right?
Yes.
And so met him. He had integrity, he had character. He was just like settled. And so I remember he gave me this gift and the gift was a AAA card.
That's so pragmatic.
That's safety. Yes.
I still have a AAA
That's
card.
safety.
And
Yes.
so we were dating and mostly he was traveling
That's
to
not
see
sexy
me.
at all. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Not sexy at all. But like that
That's
sent
safety.
me a signal.
Yeah.
Like he was concerned about me
Yes.
going out late at night to get some candy. I'm like, I gotta go get some. And he was like, wait a minute, hold on. So he was
Wow.
concerned about my safety. And then when I met his folks, you've dated some guys, and then when you meet their folks, their family's like, girl, what are you doing with him? You too good for him. When I met his folks, they were like, he is a good guy. You better take care of him. And there was something about that, you better take care of him, that felt a little like a threat, like, girl, I will cut you,
But know
So-
what you have.
Right. So his family really respected him. And I don't think my husband knows this, but the seal to the deal was I loved how he treated the waitstaff. I had dated people who were amazing to me and then ugly with the waitstaff. And
Been
I had been
there.
a waitress at my first year of college. And so this was a guy who left good tips, solid tips, who was friendly with the waitstaff and was friendly with the people around him. And so I was determining that he had great character, that he had integrity. And even when we were dating, before he would, if someone asked for money, before he made money decisions, he would talk it over with me and find out what I thought about it. Before we were dating, but before he made major purchases, he would talk to me, what do you think about this? Da, 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 da. And so I liked that he is and was a respectful guy who was interested in my opinion. And I just couldn't shake that. And so before I loved him, I respected him immensely and I trusted his decision making.
Well, love all of that. We're on this
Thank you for
happy
giving me this opportunity. We never talk about my husband on
to
this
talk.
show, I
Yeah.
think. But
Give him his flowers. Yes.
yeah.
And we're going to make sure we talk to, well, we won't say his name, but Mr. Mattox.
It's Dr.
We'll just call
Mattox
him
as
that.
well. So you can
Dr. Mattox. We're going to make sure we put it in his ear to listen so he gets his flowers. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and because we talked about some areas of grief, maybe grieving the loss of the relationship, particularly in the way in which it was. Sounds like you kind of realized who this other guy really was, but also the loss of your mom, your birth mother. And it's something that, grief we don't talk about enough, and not just the grief from loss, which is, obvious there right in our face, but the grief from changes in our lives, from relationships. Maybe relationships are still there, but they've shifted, they've changed in nature. Can you talk a little bit what that looks like for us, and how we should go about, like, navigating.
Yeah. It's interesting because there are different types of losses. So there is perhaps a maternal loss when she was expecting to have a healthy child and she has maybe a healthy child with special needs. And
Mm,
so the what she intended to happen, taking them away for college,
yeah,
the dad walking the child down the aisle, that
mhm,
shifts. And so there can be that loss. And then there can be the loss with with just the aging of your parents. I remember the last time I saw, my birth mother, she she didn't recognize me. Life was happening and she didn't recognize me, and that was really painful.
Mhm.
mhm,
And so people who have parents with dementia who don't
yeah,
recognize them, that is a pain that is like no other. And then you have friendships. There are people in my life that I thought would navigate every chapter of my life with me. And we're no longer friends. And even though we're no longer friends, I still love them with my entire heart, with my chest, with everything. And I miss them. But maybe I wasn't good for them or they weren't good for me. And, some of those relationships ended by ghosting. And so you don't even really know what it
what
was.
happened?
Mhm.
Mhm,
But I still think fondly of them, and I'm thankful for the lessons that I learned, from them, and so I think the way you grieve them is you sit with the discomfort. You don't have to make anyone an enemy. If you part ways in divorce, it really grieves me to witness two great people that I
mhm,
thought very highly of decide that they're gonna part ways, and they have to villainize each other. And
mhm,
that disturbs me greatly because I think you can still be two great people and you can part
yes,
ways and you can still give your children the gift of having the dignity of having
mhm,
respect for each parent without making them choose. I remember a familiar relationship that I wanted I wanted what I saw other people have, and I wanted us to be close. And the individual just was not capable of having that with me or didn't want that. And so I envisioned us doing these things or whatever. And so I grieved a relationship, that
yeah,
was still very much present that I was witnessing happen with other people, but it wasn't happening with me. And that is painful because, of course, then you're like, what did I say? What did I do? And you start flipping back into, whatever, and you may not have closure. And one of the things that I do not encourage you to do is run after the person like a little puppy dog. What
right,
did I do? I'm sorry, you're wrong about me.
right,
And perhaps the lesson is that you were wrong about them, you know? Maybe it wasn't that they were wrong about you. Maybe you were wrong about them. And so letting go gracefully is
mhm,
definitely something that I recommend. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying don't initiate a conversation, but if you initiate the conversation and they don't want it, or they give you a bunch of foolishness or whatever, and they don't go about trying to prove yourself, there's certain conversations that I'm not going to have because
mhm,
I know that I've been nothing but good to you
good too,
and you should know. And if you don't, let us part ways.
mhm.
But
Ki
sometimes it's season, reason, lifetime.
Mhm,
And as you mentioned, kind of letting go of things with grace,
mhm.
that is can be a hard lesson to
Hard
learn,
lesson, very
and
hard.
it takes time. And I know
Mhm,
that certainly, sometimes we as women we carry around grief.
mhm,
Isn't necessarily just about the people in our
mhm,
sphere, but also the versions of
mm.
ourselves. So, can you kind of talk about that?
I will. I wanna add one more thing, and
Mhm,
sometimes the abandonment reminds
mhm,
you of the abandonment from parents or the
mm,
abandonment from others, and so it's not that you're grieving that relationship, it is that with
mhm,
compound interest with
mm,
all the other people that you feel
mm,
like have left you. Even if the losses were due to death or whatever, it's that piece to that as well, okay? Now, would you ask your question again? Because I wanna make sure I address it fully.
Yeah, so just kind of thinking about we don't always just grieve people, but we grieve versions of ourselves. So if we take myself as an example, I had envisioned being being married and have a mother being a mother at this point in my life.
Mm,
That isn't where I am in my life. I have a wonderful, very full life, and
mm,
I am quite comfortable and happy and grateful for where I am now. But I had to come to terms with, oh, maybe that's not quite happening to me how
Mhm,
had envisioned it.
mhm,
And I know I'm not alone in
right.
that kind of grieving for the person you thought you were going to be.
mhm,
That happens a lot, um, not just with parenthood, but with, I aspire to be a doctor and now I'm not. And so I think sitting with the discomfort, I love how you frame that because you didn't frame it like I'm a victim, woe is me, but you also framed it in gratitude. I've had a great life. I'm pleased with where I am. I think one very important thing that you can do is to surround yourself with the right tribe because
mhm,
there are people who will amplify that feeling of grief and loss. And
mhm,
every time you're around them, when you having kids, is there some man in your life?
Hmm.
And so setting boundaries around people poking around in your business, because
mm,
sometimes you have those conversations and you know when they're happening. You know they're happening at the family reunion. You know they're gonna happen at
Yes.
Christmas. And so,
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving,
mhm,
and so kindly, gently, or not so gently, setting some parameters around this isn't anything I'm going to discuss so that people don't amplify that. But I like where you went with the gratitude
mhm.
and that. And especially if you have married friends, oh, they will help you get rid of that. When they tell you about all the woes of marriage and whatnot. Now
Absolutely.
you all heard me singing my husband's praise. I do not want you to think that every day is a cakewalk. And
Mm,
so certainly some friend who is single has heard me seeing some woe about discussing money matters and hearing my husband say, I don't think it's a good idea at this time. And then me like, it's why it's wonderful to be single or something,
mhm.
So the people around you will tell you, you have a great life. You can go through the airport without 3 kids tagging along. You can get through security quickly or
Be
whatever.
posted up
So,
at the bar,
so,
There
so,
you go.
maybe.
so surrounding yourself with great people who will also be your hype women for, hey,
Yes.
God knew what was best and it may come or whatever.
Yes.
But the other piece is, giving yourself permission to sometimes, at Mother's Day grieve. I'll tell you something. And as I'm thinking about telling you this, I'm thinking, don't tell them that, Rhonda. But but I remember being reeked with pain in my body and having decisions around my uterus that I had
Mhm.
no longer intended to use because of my age. But really holding on to that uterus
Didn't
that was
wanna let
giving
go.
me all kinds of grief
Mhm,
because I wanted the option
mhm.
to use what I every year said I didn't want to use. And so sometimes grieving the hysterectomy,
Yes.
grieving the having a toxic relationship with your mother or your
Mm,
father, or no relationship with your father on Father's Day, those things, if we are not intentional about our healing and intentional about going through that with grace, we will screw up royally. And so for that, I say, get a therapist and get a journal.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh my gosh, I gave y'all a 10-minute answer for that.
That was perfect. I was actually no, that was beautiful actually from both of you guys, but because I was gonna ask about dealing with some of the grief and hopefully we can, get to a little bit more brighter talking points, but, grief is what we are living with every day, and so some of the grief that, I'm in the sandwich generation is not from a parent that have lost, but I have lost some of the relationship because of where they are. And so And it's an interesting place to be because it changes your life. So that you are grieving some of what your normalcy was and the trajectory that you thought you were on. And then kind of there's a wrench in the plan. And so you have to re-navigate. And then there are things when people are hurting or ill, behaviors that they may have that are not as friendly and not as kind, and so it's navigating all of those feelings. And so I was wanting to ask you in terms of what your thoughts are in terms of dealing with it. So love the therapy, and obviously we talk about counseling and therapy on this show as a regular form of self-care and journaling. And I have to I'm gonna take this moment
Yes.
to bring up your book, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit later, but, would just love to know what your thoughts on are in terms of we talk about journaling all the time, but what does it look like? What would be a simple 1, 2, 3, this is what I recommend. You're dealing with grief, here's an exercise that I could give you.
Yeah.
But
So
first, tell us the name of your book and where can we buy the book?
Take 5, Pathway to Peace, a 40-day journaling experience. You can find it on Amazon. If you type in Dr. Rhonda Mattox, that's the only book I've written, so it's the only one out there. But then you can also go to rhondamattox.com and order it from me if you'd like an autographed copy, HTTPS, all of that. Right? And I would say, as we are, the two things that I wanted to speak to, one is uh, when you are navigating caregiving duties, to work with others, to delegate some things and or hire out some things if you can, and get and have your siblings, if you have siblings or aunts or sisters or a CNA, come in and sit with them so that you can get out. And if you don't feel that you have the financing for that, if there's some things that they have that you can barter with, you cooking meals for them for a week and for them or something, if that's your thing, but something that you can exchange with someone who is safe and been vetted to leave with your parent. Okay. So that's on the journaling side. The take 5 is take 5 minutes. We are so busy that, I'm not encouraging you to spend 30 minutes. No, sometimes I just say, take 5 minutes. And I always start at the back of the book because that's
Oh,
where I write down my 10 things that I'm grateful for. So I start at the back of the book. I'm writing my gratitude, what I'm thankful for. And I'm going to tell you that releases endorphin because I'm remembering stuff. And then throughout my day, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to put that in the book. Oh, I'm going to put that in the book. Someone buys me a cup of coffee or
Yeah.
I something happens or whatever. They are people who are making it to the book. And it's my opportunity to celebrate. We accomplish so much on a daily basis that we forget about because we're going to the next best thing. And so it
Yeah.
is like my celebration of me. Oh, you did that, girl. Okay. And then also small things, I got the park in the front. I mean, like it didn't have to be big.
okay.
So I'd start with that. And then oftentimes I will journal right after I finish praying. And it is because many times we don't treat prayer like it's communication. Like we say, I want this, I want that. We treat prayer like we're writing a Santa Claus list or something. But true prayer is like two-way street. And so after I pray, I like to just sit still for a few minutes and then see what downloads in my spirit. And then I'll write it down because often what downloads in my spirit are strategies that that give me time, that take stress off my plate and ways to deal with people that I didn't even know how to deal with. And so right afterwards, it's like this wash over of, oh, God, you are like the bomb. Giggity, man. I wouldn't come up with that. And then the other thing is, so in the journal, it's like 5 pieces. And it's not like a journal, what you think. It's like if you have anxiety, this is how you structure, oh, I'm having these symptoms. If you've had an anxiety attempt, this is what happened beforehand. So you can get to the root of your anxiety instead of just, oh, I'm anxious. And then there's the regular, what you think of as journaling, like the lines. And so we'll have guided prompts And the guy, if you like struggling, I don't even know I don't have anything to be thankful for. Don't worry. The guy will probably give you something to be thankful for. And then you just brain dump. Like before you go to bed, and you're like, I need to do this. Brain dump. Put it all in there. So there are a number of different ways to approach it. I tend to start with gratitude at the very back of the book. And thinking about it, maybe I should have put the gratitude at the front of the book, but I figured y'all wouldn't get to the back of the book if I put the other stuff there. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude.
Love that. And
Love it.
starting at the back of the
Absolutely.
book, that
Yes.
is a really good pearl. And certainly your book, Take 5 Pathway to Peace. What I want to know, Rhonda, if someone is feeling like really overwhelmed right now, you mentioned gratitude, beginning and ending. Is there one other takeaway that they can also implement?
Not with the journal, but with something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or with the journal?
Okay. So I would say if you've been doing the journal for a while, go back and look at what you've written. Because when you start looking at what you've written that you're thankful for, it'll make
Yes.
you smile. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I'm not feeling well, it's counterintuitive, but I like to be in nature. So I like to take, nature walks or whatever. And when you don't feel well, sometimes you don't have any energy. And you're like, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like it. Press your way because there's something about being with nature that helps you see this big thing that you think is big in your head is really not. And then when you're walking or you're running or you're cycling or you're doing something, it just brings you back to yourself. Now, I'm going to tell you what I like to do. So I told you what good doctor answers are. Now, let me tell you what Rhonda likes to do.
That's what
The
we
two
want to
things.
know.
So the two things is I like to put on a good line dance song and then try to practice that line dance song because
Love it.
this Black girl cannot dance and I really want to look like I can dance at the family reunion. The other thing is I will put on comedy. And because I don't want to hear all the garbage comedy that's out there. So there's something called Dry Bar and they don't curse and make lewd stuff, in their comedy. But I want to laugh. And I can be crying, like recently lost someone was grieving, but putting on that comedy just gets the laughter and laughter does good like a medicine. So one of my best things to tell you is go find somebody that is going to make you laugh and then
Love
do just
comedy.
that.
All right. So tell me where you find Dry Bar because obviously, like Netflix, I can get something comedy, but sometimes it's hit or miss in terms of like
Yeah.
the yeah.
It's an app.
Okay.
Since they don't make TVs like they used to, so you got to go to Hulu and Netflix and all.
Oh my
Yes.
So I can't
goodness.
find
Yes.
anything on there. I don't know how I find Dry Bar. I'm just gonna say it was gift from
We'll-
God or
I'll figure
something.
it out.
Yeah, but
I've got the
Dry
name.
Bar comedy,
Okay.
is the one.
We'll figure it out. Figure it out. And I love the piece to go back to the gratitude journals, like going back to the extra piece you added, going back through your journal. I did that recently, and you sometimes just realize how far you've actually come, even though you may be in that moment of oh woe is me, and I look back a year from where I am today and how much I've grown, and that alone is more to be grateful for. So I like that idea.
I
And
saw
you Mhm.
I saw a journal from when I was in college. And when I was in college, I was praying for furniture. Like not like fancy Haverty's furniture, whatever, like
Mhm.
furniture. I
Furniture.
was thanking
Wow.
God for gas in my car. Okay.
Yes.
And so when you look at your old journals,
Yes.
like this week, okay. So this week I bought 4 boxes of cereal that were name brand. Okay.
I get it.
Because they were
Yeah.
on sale. And I said
Got
to
you.
myself, girl, you have really come up.
Really come
4,
That there was a day.
4 name brand cereals
Yes.
without a coupon?
Mhm.
Girl, you have really come up. So I'm telling you, that gratitude, just go back and look at some of those college journals. You will feel better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You talked about walking in nature, and that brings up a topic I wanted to talk about in terms of silence And you talk about silence as being kind of a survival strategy and how powerful it can be, not necessarily a weakness, but as something learned, something protective, right? But when does it stop being protective and start becoming harmful? Particularly women, I think we have a tendency to be more silent in situations where perhaps someone else would have been vocal.
Yeah, I think there are times when we learn that our voice is unsafe. For instance, you're at work, you give some feedback. You think that they really wanted your feedback because they asked for it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But turns out they didn't. And then you
Mhm.
find yourself being penalized and punished for having a voice and for speaking what you thought they wanted to. And so I see often women and people of color who will learn to say nothing at the table because they said something in a meeting. No one acknowledged that they said it. And then
Mhm.
a few seconds later, someone else said,
The exact same
Same thing.
thing.
Dr. Morris, you heard me. Okay.
Mhm.
And then it was brilliant. And so people will start to mum's the word, right?
Mm.
And and then you start to resent the place that you're in. And
Mm.
so for me, when those kinds of things happen, number one, I like to know, is this legitimate or am I amplifying this because of something else? Because
Mm.
sometimes it's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Mm.
Right.
Um, and I'm taking it out on folks. But
Mhm.
is this something that has been a pattern with these individuals? And so, and does it make sense for me to have a pull aside? I sense there's something going on between us, da 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 da, and have that question, But sometimes we've had this happen for so long in our lives that it's just like, you know what, I need this job. My kids in college, got to get them out of college. I'm just going to hush. And then your body starts to respond and you start to have headaches. You start to have ulcers. You start to, have all kinds of things. And so it's not safe when your body gets involved.
Tells you.
I've had
Yep.
people tell me their hair is falling out. Folks getting panic
Mhm.
attacks when they go to work.
Mhm.
So when it starts to impact your health, yes. But long
Yeah.
before it impacts your health, it impacts your spirit. And you see that spark leaving your eye
Yes.
and that zest for life, and then you're self-soothing with my favorite, ice cream, okay? You're self-soothing with food, and you're letting yourself go. Those are some other clues, and I say, and certainly if you're in a position where you absolutely hate your job, but you feel like you need it, that is a great time to have, some emancipation circle. This is like 3 of my friends that I like that we talk about it, or therapy and journaling and
Mhm.
certainly exercise. Get
Love that.
moving. And let me not say exercise, let me
Love
say
that.
movement. Because
Movement.
you can be
Yeah.
lying
Love
in,
movement.
hiking,
Absolutely.
movement. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's our favorite. Thank you.
Definitely. And
Love that
certainly
answer.
you have worked across like media and policy as well as corporate spaces, helping organizations understand their voice and psychological safety. When it comes to leadership, and certainly there are lots of examples of leadership now,
Mhm.
what are leaders still getting wrong when it comes to creating environments where there is psychological safety and people feel safe to speak?
Mm, I think when you are a when you're a leader, you should want to hear the quietest voice in the room, the person who's not
Mm.
talking.
Oh, wow.
And you should cultivate giving them a place to where they can talk. And if they have anxiety and they don't want to talk in front of others, but cultivating an opportunity where you can hear their voices because many times there is brilliance brewing there and
Mhm.
you are missing out on multi-million-dollar opportunities to either leverage their voice and learn how to do things more efficiently. And so making sure that all the voices in the room are heard. We hear a lot about code switching and creating spaces to where people can bring more of their authentic self to work. And you can hear about how they see the world, because they may be able to get you into another market of their world when you start to hear what is important to them and other people who are like them. And so businesses need to understand that you are missing out on valuable markets and efficiency and productivity when you have to be the right and you can't hear from those that you surrounded yourself with. And so staying curious. And even if you know something, not just, oh, I already know that, that has shut down more conversations that could have made people money. Even if I know something, I love hearing how my daughter got to that. I'm curious, how did you arrive at that decision? And many times when I'm listening to how she arrived at that decision, I'm just sitting back amazed at how brilliant she is. So understanding sometimes brilliance sounds different, but it can still make you money. Sometimes brilliance sounds uncomfortable, and it is still the right thing to do. And just because it didn't come from you does not make it less than.
Very good. And so we're talking about curiosity, silence, when to speak up. Many of the women that listen to our podcast are very much like you, high functioning, high achieving. They're doing all the things. How does emotional suppression show up in populations that might not be obvious? What are some of the early warning signs that someone's just carrying too much and doing it quietly?
Mm. Slow checkout, quietly quitting.
Oh, wow. Quiet quitting.
The quiet quitting.
I am tired. Um, many times the morale goes down because I'm a rate buster, okay? A rate buster. I'm gonna say it like that. I'm a rate buster. I come in and I do boom, 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 boom. Well, if you are someone who does the bare minimum, I make you feel uncomfortable because I am too much, okay? And so then when the people that you have made feel uncomfortable start trying to discredit you because you are making them look lazy or whatever. And so they don't step up their game frequently. They try to challenge you and discredit you and then fault find and get manipulative. And so then people will fall back. And so you will see people falling back. You will see the spark leaving. You will see the ideas suppressed. There are people in the room who could outperform. I talked with someone who was in research, and one person who was bringing more people into those research studies than her entire team, managers included. And now they're saying they're trying to discredit her. And if there's one group of people who know about this more than anybody else, what group of people is that?
Black women.
Women.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are not impressed by mediocrity because we have been taught we need to be 10 times as good to be thought half as talented. And so we're not impressed by mediocrity. And we bring that to the room. And nowadays, that makes people uncomfortable. And so Black women, what I'm going to tell you is to begin to get your LLCs, your S corps, and start some businesses.
Love that. Love that.
And if you need to know how to market your voice and get in your impact zone, I'm the coach for you.
And where can they
And
find you?
Right.
And they can find me at rhondamattox.com. They can find me on LinkedIn as Dr. Rhonda Mattox. That's Rhonda with an H and Mattox with 2 T's. T is in Tom. And certainly the people on this podcast can direct you to me. But
Absolutely.
rhondamattox.com, rhondamattox.org, you got it locked down. But LinkedIn certainly too. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Dr. Rhonda Mattox.
Perfect. And we'll have everything in our show notes as well, Dr. Rhonda.
Definitely. And before we let you go, Dr. Rhonda, for the woman who's listening right now, who's feeling stretched or quieted or, maybe is quiet quitting at work, What's one thing you want her to know?
Yes. I want you to know that you're not alone and it's not in your head. You're not imagining this. What you're experiencing is very real. If you're a person of faith, I invite you to whisper a prayer because in a multitude of counselors, there's safety. Whisper a prayer that you would gain insight into the right therapist or right psychiatrist to connect with so that you feel heard and seen. You can go to psychologytoday.com and um, and type in your zip code, and you'll see people from um, therapists or counselors or what have you that accept those insurances that are in your area, and begin to think about what one or two things you can take off your plate that are draining you,
Mm.
and use ChatGPT for how do I act as a
Or
person,
Claude or Perplexity.
or Claude, act as a person who is resigning from blah, 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 blah committee.
Yeah.
Draft a letter to boop, 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 explaining that I will not include 3 rebuttals just for, and,
Posterity's
and then
sake.
take that and start taking yourself off of some things that are
Mm.
not important to you anymore.
That was powerful. Absolutely. Great instruction, great advice, and we will be writing all that, and it'll definitely be in our show notes.
Absolutely. And that kind of powerful doesn't just sit with you, it stays with you.
So,
My
Dr.
pleasure.
Mattox, we cannot thank you enough for your honesty, as always, your transparency, as always, your wisdom, and for continuing to create space for women to find and use their voices.
And Dr. Rhonda, please tell us again where they can find your book, where they can find you.
Take 5 Pathway to Peace, a 40-day journaling experience, which is not just a journal, but a whole experience. You can find that on Amazon by typing in Dr. Rhonda Mattox and Take 5, or you can go to rhondamattox.com and hit shop, and you can buy the book there. You can also follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok.
Love it.
All
All the
right.
places.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And to everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, send it to someone who needs it. And we definitely would love you to like, subscribe on all the streaming platforms as well as YouTube. Subscribe there, and you can stay abreast of all the great, great women and the voices and stories, such as Dr. Mattox, that we have to share.
And listen, everyone, go and Google TEDx Rhonda Mattox. You should know better, because you and all of your friends need that talk so you can gain strategies for saying no and being strategic about your yes without guilt.
And I'll just
Wonderful.
just have to add and echo that, Dr. Mattox. Obviously, you've been a friend of the show, and we've been friends for a while now, and we're blessed. And your message is everything that we've heard, but all in one sitting, and absolutely worth the listen to, worth taking notes to. So we can't encourage our listeners more to take the time to listen to the TEDx and be inspired, for sure.
Because you should know, Dr. Rhonda Mattox from TEDx. Couldn't help but say that. And if there's something in this episode that's challenged you, sit with it. That's where the growth begins.
And until next time on Boss Leap, may you be well.
May you be well.
May you be well.
That's a wrap on another episode of Boss Leap. May this conversation enlighten your path toward personal growth and professional empowerment. For more thought-provoking and eye-opening discussions like this one, head to our website at bossleappodcast.com. Always remember to celebrate your wins and trust yourself. A positive mindset can push you out of your comfort zone and into far greater heights. Until next time, may you be well.
Before we go, there's one more thing the lawyers have asked us to include. You know, it's the legal language, and you know how doctors love lawyers. This podcast is presented only for educational and entertainment purposes. Although we are doctors, on this show, we are just your friends. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. Understood? Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode.